Muneyuki Kaneshiro is one of the big rock stars of the manga industry right now. He is working on 3 different series, all of them good in their own right. But in my opinion, his best is Blue Lock, a football manga that is focusing solely on strikers. Captain Tsubasa inspired Japan to raise amazing midfielders, and Blue Lock seems to want to do the same thing to strikers. And Awashi is raising fullbacks, so we're raising a whole team already with just manga series. As bizarre as that may sound, it is true. But enough about the real world, that's boring. Let's talk fiction. One of the downsides for me when it comes to sports manga is the inevitable question of when does this get good? Most all sports manga is long as heck, which means the story and the characters are developed at a snail's pace. That in on itself is not a bad thing, but a lot of writers tend to forget that just because they're slowly building up their story, it doesn't mean that you can't still tell exciting events while doing so. For example, some sports manga is going to focus so much on establishing very basic concepts when it comes to the sport they are portraying. It's hard to make that interesting without boring the reader. Blue Lock doesn't have that issue. It's a fast-paced, action-filled manga, and it immediately establishes itself as a well-written piece of media, and it does it only in 2 chapters. Yes, you can say the matches are long and some may say drawn out, but that's because of the format. We focus on individuals, their thought process, and strategies. It also manages to build up multiple characters seamlessly while not filling the time with constant flashbacks. And it is a great cast, one that doesn't solely depend on the main character. Now, of course, it's not the only series that manages to be really good really fast, but it does something special that I want to analyze in detail. So we start off with Japan's desire to raise world-class strikers, and in order to do so, they hire this coach named Jinpachi Ego, or Ego. Yeah, Ego plays a big part in this whole story, so I'm pretty sure it's an allusion to that. Then we switch to introducing our main character, Yoichi Isagi, who is in the middle of a match that decides if they go to nationals or not. He gets past the enemy's defense and is within shooting position, but one of his teammates shows up who shouts at him to pass. Isagi, thinking about the situation, comes to the conclusion that passing the ball would ensure a goal. So he does just that and the teammate misses the shot. We then see this blonde-haired player named Kira who does score a goal and Isagi and his team loses. Despite this, he gets an invitation for a special training program, and when he goes there, before he even enters the building, he's being greeted by this guy. It's Kira, the one that scored that goal. Seems like he also been selected for the special training. He comes off as a nice guy, even complimenting Isagi's soccer sense. He also says that he'd be happy if he could play with Isagi so he could receive his quote-unquote crazy good passes. Isagi gets excited at the prospect that he's being praised by somebody who just defeated him in a match. Upon entering the building, Isagi notices right away that all the people gathered there are strikers. Jinpachi shows up. Long story short, he wants to create world-class strikers from these here people. He makes it abundantly clear that his primary goal is to create players that do not bother with their teams. Their only task is to score as many goals as possible. Now, some sports enthusiasts might want to immediately jump in and say that this coach doesn't understand how football works, but I think you're missing the point. He wants the players to first and foremost focus on scoring. That should be their entire drive. Of course, you have to work together with your team to do so, but this is about mindset. He wants to hammer in that mindset. That's what, according to him, Japan's football is missing. Ego. Also important to note is that Kira is the first to object to this. From there, we quickly get to the first trial. We are following the story through Isagi and oh, Kira is here too. They get these uniforms with numbers on them and it's revealed that that is their current ranking. Isagi is quite low, just above the weakest guy. Jinpachi tells them that for this test, they will need Ego. What else? It's a game of tag. Whoever has the ball when the timer runs out is gonna be dropped out of this training program. Kira is quite skeptical about how this test would prove or show anything, but he plays along for now. There are no restrictions other than you can't touch the ball with your hands, so Isagi gets grabbed by this other fella and now he has to get the ball to someone else. His first approach is to target somebody that is weaker than him. Finds a guy and even gets a golden opportunity as he is down on his knees due to bumping into another guy. He is a little hesitant though, as whoever loses will forever have to give up on representing Japan. But after a bit of thinking, it looks like Isagi makes up his mind.
違うな。
He didn't come here to stomp on weaker enemies, he came here to change, to become even better. He turns around and...
一番強いやつ。バン！
Not only does he get Kira disqualified, but he's out of the story for good as well. This is the moment of writing that I really loved. The author built up Kira as not only a formidable enemy, but as a decent guy altogether. It really looked like he will become a best friend or at least a sidekick kind of character, but no. As it turns out, he was just a stepping stone. This scene showcased that Isagi has an ego. He is willing to sacrifice this guy that has been nothing but nice to him in order to achieve his dreams. You could even say that this is the moment where he becomes the main character. Before this, he didn't really have much going on for him. But now we can see that there's more to him than meets the eye. By the way, Kira is obviously frustrated about this dumb test that he just lost, so Jinpachi gives him a reality check that this wasn't just a random little trial. The room that they were in is the exact size of the penalty area. If you're not able to move effectively within this radius, then you're not worth much as a striker. But what about the time limit? Says Kira. You can't learn much about a player in just 2 minutes. Jinpachi bombards him with statistics and then ultimately says that Kira still had 1 second left on the timer when he was hit with the ball. He could have done something, but he just fell to the ground. That's the short version of it. He says a lot more to him. In conclusion, is it worth reading Blue Lock? Yeah, of course. Does it portray real football? No, of course not. It can go pretty over the top and it does have weird moments like one of the players sticking his tongue out because that's his play style, but if you let it take you on a ride, it's mad fun. Not to mention the art is great too. Yusuke Nomura does a fantastic job that not only looks great but is easy to follow from panel to panel, which when it comes to sports manga is not always the case. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm out.